Hi. Okay. I am live. I'm sorry I didn't get it up ahead of time, like scheduled, so that you could know it was coming. But hopefully, people will show up. While we're here, I do want to uh, remind you that Take Your House Back is on sale through tomorrow. So you can go to aslobcomesclean.com/take if you're not a member yet. If you are a member, make sure that you are current because this Saturday is the all-day declutter. So what that means is on Saturday, Dawn from Minimal Mom, Cass from Clutterbug, and I will take turns going live. And then we'll go live together 2 different times, both at lunch, which is really fun, and also at the end. And we have a great time. Like, it's so fun. There's so much energy. This year, we are doing it to where we have a private only for people who are actually members of Take Your House Back, but we do have a private way for you to watch that is outside of Facebook if you're not on Facebook. So you can watch in the Facebook group, or there's another way to watch as well. So I hope you'll be there for the all-day declutter on Saturday. People love it. I'm always the first one to say, if you don't like cheerleading, which I know I rebel against cheerleading, maybe that isn't for you, but they still exist for you to watch on your own timeline. But I'm just telling you, it is amazing what people get done over the course of these days. We do about 3 a year. So if you are not a member of Take Your House Back, this is a great time for you to join. Even if you can't be there Saturday, you'll be able to watch them whenever later. So okay. Yes, Angela, you're here from the beginning of a live. So aslobcomesclean.com/take. That is my link. Go sign up for Take Your House Back. I don't want you to miss it because I know people always email and say, oh no, I missed it. And now it's crazy, ridiculously expensive. And I'm like, I know, that's why I try to tell y'all while it's on sale. Okay, I am going to take your questions. Yes, so Julie says the all-day declutter is great. People love it. People love, 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 love it. Oh, I love it. So you'll be there the first 2 hours. And I think that's the thing is you come watch what you can. Grab a black trash bag and a donate box and just come and do what you can while you're there. So again, aslobcomesclean.com/take. I'm going to take your questions here live. It's one of those days, right? Like, I just wasn't able to get all the questions ahead of time ready to go for me to do. So I'll be doing that next week. You can ask questions for future lives at askdanakWhite.com if you're not able to watch this live. But here we go. I will take questions from those of y'all who are watching. In the process of moving, but I'm not as efficient as I had hoped. I feel like that's just the way moving goes, right? Like, I mean, I have had all these visions and I did amazing for a long time. And then at the very last part, we were just throwing everything in because it was like, well, now we just got to get out of here, right? Anyway, but you're saying, but I'm not as efficient as I hoped because I'm worried about getting it wrong in the unpacking process. I have high hopes for a fresh start. Yeah. So, I mean, there's just some realities of moving, right? But declutter for the life that you're living, because you're going to be moving into a new space, but you are still going to have the same life. Okay. And so the beauty of moving is that you literally touch every single item that is in your home, no matter where it is. Your hands are going to touch it. That simple act so often reveals donations. Like, things can just sit there and be outside of my realm of acknowledgement. And then for some reason I have to pick it up and it's like something just clicks in my brain. Oh, which is the reason, like in last week's video, where I was talking about the container concept, that consolidating part of that step 5 is so important because you're touching every last thing instead of just going, oh yeah, of course, this is the cabinet for skillets. Yeah. But when you touch all the skillets so that you can put them all together, just touching them reveals donations that you didn't see before. So the same thing happens in moving. And just acknowledge that, remember, this is the box that, the moving math people said these are the boxes that should fit a dining room. All right, I'm going to put my favorite things in there first. And when you think of it that way, it just reveals the things that are not favorites. It is so rarely an issue of, oh no, it's full and now I'm going to have to one in, one out. You almost never get to the one in, one out because just knowing there's a limit will automatically reveal things that, oh, wait, this is not as important to me as subconsciously I was assuming that it was. Okay. So give yourself permission to just be like, I am going to fill up donate boxes, but I'm going to do that by identifying my favorites, which then naturally shows me what is less favorite and can go in the donate box. I hope that made sense. Let's see. Get back to some other. Yay, this will be the third. ADD in this context stands for all day declutter. Okay, I know it can be confusing. People have kind of made that the acronym. Absolutely the best cheerleading and support I've had where decluttering is concerned. Yes. And she's talking about the all day declutter that is part of the Take Your House Back course. Yes, I love the all day declutter. Very motivating. People love them. Okay, let's see. Next one. Oh, is it snowing up there? It's cold, but not anywhere near snowing. Let's see. How long, where I am in Texas is what I meant. Y'all are supposed to know what I'm thinking, right? How long do you give yourself, if at all, to decide whether you're going to use something? If I have somewhere, I'd look for it. Example, took curtains and rod down, changed light fixtures. So I don't do well with this kind of thing. Like that's this is the reason I don't do, what does Dawn call them? Quarantine boxes or something like that. I don't do that because for me, that turns into what people on TikTok, I'm told, I'm not on TikTok, but people call doom boxes, right? Like just anything that just goes into a box and I'm telling myself, oh yes, this is the reason I didn't do toy rotation. I tried toy rotation and it turned into, what is that box up there in the closet? Huh? What was up there? And then I get it out and I'm like, oh, this was going to be the toy rotation. And now my kids are like 6 years older and these things could have gone a long day. So I don't do anything that involves a time thing because I have my made up disorder, which is very real, called time passage awareness disorder. Like it's just, time that doesn't work well for my brain, right? And so I just literally go with my same process for everything. And that is, where would I look for it first? And then take it there now. And that action is the thing that will generally help me go, oh, wait a minute, I'm never going to use this. Oh, wait, whatever. Or I take it to the place where I would look first for, extra curtains and rods down. And I have to really think through, okay, if I needed to change out curtains, where would I look for the ones that I already have? And then either I have a place where I would look for it, or my brain says, oh yeah, I would never actually go looking for old curtain and rod if I was needing to put up curtains. And so then I let those go. But if I have a place where I look for it, I take it there and then I continually live, as long as it has a space, it's okay. But as other things where it's like, okay, now I'm doing, such and such with, this blanket that is off season. Okay, where would I look for it first? And I go to take it to that same place that's like the thing that's not being used right now, storage place. It just happens that that's where I look for it. And that's where I make that decision of, oh, I actually am going to use the blanket next winter. There's not room for this and this maybe stuff of, curtains and rods that I took down at some point. And that becomes, what I put in this space. And then I let go of that. So that works better for me than putting any kind of a date or time stuff on it. I just go with what is the space? What do I have space for? And so many times the actual act of taking it there now is the thing that makes me realize, even if there is space, even if I do have a place where I would look for it, the actual act of taking it there to that space makes me go, wait a minute. Actually, I don't need this. Actually, you know what? I'd rather just not put this in that space. So that action is a big part of it as well. Let's see. Tough working on decluttering, having fibromyalgia, and I work third shift, 8:45 p.m. to 7:15 a.m. Wow, that is tough. And then I take my daughter to school. I'm a single mom. Any tips and tricks are helpful? Daytime, I sleep. Yeah, I think the thing that to remember here is high impact of the actions that you do take. Okay, so visibility rule. Like say, when I can declutter, when I have some time and some energy and, am not in, a time where I'm, having a flare up of your pain, in those moments, I am going to make high impact that will then encourage me and increase, if not physical energy, at least emotional energy to keep going and decluttering. So visibility rule is incredibly important there, meaning I'm going to start in a visible area. I'm going to work on this in a way that is going to make real, actual impact, which means things leaving the house, not stuff shifting, just moving it over into this other place, but actually things leaving the house. With everything that leaves, that is one less thing for me to have to deal with, to take my energy in the future. So it's impact that makes my future life easier. So with doing that in a visible space means that I'm going to see, oh, wow, that looks good, which then gives you encouragement and reminder to declutter again sooner. And then you go with the next most visible space. So really focusing in on that prioritization technique of, visibility rule, but also follow the no mess process. Okay. Which feels, when you're just imagining how it's going to go, and you're in a situation where you struggle with, chronic pain or lack of energy, it feels like, oh, no, the take it there now, that would be too much. But the opposite is true. And I hear this from people all the time who are in situations like yours. Okay. And they will tell me, this method works for me because I have chronic fatigue, because I have fibromyalgia, because I have chronic pain. Because the beauty of it is you can stop at any time and you will have made progress. Because the problem is when it's like, I don't have the time and I don't have the energy, then if you are decluttering in the traditional way, which is what I always used to think was the only way, which was to pull everything out of the space and make this huge mess. I mean, those are the memes going on right now. This is the time of year where you're seeing all these people are like, oh, I started decluttering and, the day after Christmas, and now it's been 2 weeks since then, and my house is a total disaster still. So I'm like so much worse off because I was decluttering. And that kind of decluttering is the thing that it feels like you can't do because of your schedule and your energy, right? Because you're like, if I start decluttering this space and I pull everything out, I'm going to end up in this situation where, the house is worse off than it was before. And so it feels like I can't even get started. With that kind of decluttering, you're right. But with the no mess method, you throw away a little bit of trash and that space is a little bit better. It's not done, but it's a little bit better. And it's an invisible space. So you're seeing, wow, that made an actual impact. Okay. And then you go to the next time you have a little bit of energy or a little bit of time, you say, okay, I'm just going to focus on what's easy. What is in this space that has an established home somewhere else? I'm going to take it there right now. And so doing that, using the no mess method means that even though, yes, I'm taking it there now and I might use up my energy, if I do use up my energy, I have only made this space better. Where if I pull everything out, and so looking at just the space, wow, it looks amazing. I've used up all my energy, but I also look and I go, oh my word, this is defeating because there's stuff everywhere now. So in both of those situations, I've used the energy, but in the no mess method, I've made actual progress using that energy. In the traditional way of decluttering, pulling everything out, I've used up my energy and I've made myself worse off and more defeated. So what I'm saying? So really focusing on the no mess method, which is the one in Decluttering at the Speed of Life. There's videos on it here. I went, in case you only watch the lives and you don't watch my regular videos, I, over the last 5 weeks, I think, so starting in December through last Thursday, I talk through each of the ins and outs of the different 5 steps in my no mess process. So that should answer a lot of questions that you have. Let's see. What do I do with my wedding dress? I only have sons and don't want to donate to Goodwill where it could become a Halloween Bride of Frankenstein dress. As a theater person, I'm just saying, I mean, like, you know, you're right. It could become that, but it'd be so fun, right? So I think, you know, there's a couple things here. So for me personally, I had to let go of what was going to happen to my stuff because it kept me from donating it. Like it kept me from getting rid of things when I was like, oh, well, I want it to go to all the very best places. In the meantime, it sat somewhere and got in worse and worse and worse shape so that these idealistic places where I wanted it to go wouldn't end up wanting it anyway. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't actually be able to be used the way that it needs. Like I have a video where I talk about, we had a Suburban, like an actual vehicle that we were like, okay, we're gonna, you know, give this to somebody who really needs it. And we, you know, kind of few feelers and offered it to somebody and they were like, oh, you know, I don't know, actually want something else. And it ended up turning into like it died. And we ended up having to have someone come and haul it away. And it was a realization for me that while I was so worried about getting it to somebody who would appreciate it, it ended up being, you know, losing value during that time, which, you know, wedding dresses for style and all, you know, just a wedding dress sitting in the closet tends to get stains on it somehow, right? But really, like all of those things, it is deteriorating in value while I'm worried about getting it to the various best place. And so I just decided I'm going to let go of worrying about things going to the very best situation, and I'm just going to get rid of it. Now, if your situation is that you have decluttered everything and the only thing left is the wedding dress, then maybe you have the bandwidth or the ability to sell it or to find an organization in your area that, you know, gives it to somebody who needs it, whatever. But if you don't have that bandwidth and you're ready to get rid of it, then go ahead and, you know, let it go and maybe get over the issue, you know, that I had to get over of it going to the very best place. The other thing too is sometimes what can happen is that's the thing that you're like, this is the thing that my brain goes to when I start thinking about decluttering. And so I used to spend a lot of mental energy on that one thing that would wake me up in the middle of the night. Like, what am I going to do with this item? In the meantime, there was a lot of decluttering that I could do. And so when I said, I'm going to start with the stuff that doesn't wake me up in the middle of the night, like start with the easy stuff, start with the trash, start with the stuff that you are like, well, duh, of course that can go. I don't care what happens to that. Get rid of those things and it will build those decluttering muscles, give you decluttering experience that will either make you look at this situation differently or will open up the bandwidth to be able to do something more idealistic with it. Let's see. Here's somebody else saying all day declutter is amazing. Those of y'all who are just now joining us, what we're talking about is it's one of the bonus perks that goes with the Take Your House Back course. So that is this coming up Saturday. That's the reason I'm making sure y'all know about it. But if you're a member of Take Your House Back, you can participate in the all day declutter. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I love it. I'm so sorry that you had to do that because I know it is a lot of work. Thank you for that, for doing that for them. I know that is, oh, wow, it's a lot. Okay. I've been there with my in-laws. What do I do with sentimental items that my mom gave me that she still wants, but doesn't want to keep in her house? So now it's in my house and I now feel the guilt and burden of keeping the items. Okay. So this is hard, like it really is. And yet there are a couple options. You can pack them in a donate box, walk through the house, putting them in a donate box, and send her a text with the picture of the box and say, hey, I don't have any room for these things in my house. Do you want them back? Because otherwise I'm going to donate them. Like, don't leave it in, don't say, do you want them back or should I donate? Just say facts. I don't have the space for this in my house. I'm going to donate them unless you want them back. I know it's easier said than done. I know there are dynamics there, but the reality for me was I had to realize if somebody didn't want something in my house, in their house, then I was not their decluttering place. Like, I was not their clutter receptacle or whatever. Now, for me, a lot of the issue was that I had been the person who was excited to take their junk, to take their clutter. Like, when people wanted to get rid of stuff, I was like, woohoo! Well, I mean, I had never thought about that before, but you know what? It's free. And of course I want it because it was free, right? So I had to, it's almost like I had to reverse that, which, there was momentum of them being like, I'll just give all my stuff to Dana. And then I had to stop it and then go back, which is always harder to like stop and go back, right? Because that's like science or physics or something. I don't know. When you get momentum going one way, you have to reverse that. And so it started with me saying no thank you on new stuff that they were trying to give me. It was like, no, I don't have any space for that. And I think that kind of got them ready for the point where I started getting rid of the stuff that they had given me in the past, was just by first saying no thank you. Where in the past I had always been like, sure, I'll take it. Do you apply the keep your favorites to crafts? Yes. But instead of thinking of it as keep your favorites, I don't have keep your favorites as a rule. I have the container concept as a fact. And then the reality of the container concept is that I put my favorite ones in first and I let that be the limit for me. Okay. So it's not just keep my favorites, because I used to keep my favorites, which meant I kept everything, but instead it's the put my favorites first into the container. So I own lots of markers and stickers for my reading journal. I know I have duplicates, but I'm paralyzed getting rid of the extras. Let the container make that decision for you. Meaning, where would you look first for markers and stickers for your reading journal? Like, what's the first place where you would look? Okay, I would look in that drawer. That drawer is the container. That drawer is the limit, which means that if I try to have more markers and stickers than would fit in that drawer, there is no hope of them being under control. So I let the drawer make the hard decisions, and instead I say, okay, what are my least favorites? They're still a favorite, right? What are my least favorites? I'm going to take those out until they will fit comfortably, usably, get-toably inside this drawer, which is the limit, which is the container for them. I love my books, but do not read as much as I love them. Oh, what a cute dog. I also do not want to get rid of them. Most of the ones I hold tight to are cookbooks, yet again, rarely used. Thanks, from Texas. All right. Again, the container concept is the answer here. So where would you look first for your cookbooks or any books, any category of books? Where would you look first for that? And that space, that shelf, is the limit. It's just facts. If I try to keep more cookbooks than will fit in this space, then there is no hope of it ever being under control. If I try to keep more cookbooks and I keep giving them another shelf and another shelf, and then I don't have room for, ramen, which my kids eat or whatever, then the ramen is sitting out on the counter and this kitchen never has hope of being under control, right? So it's like, what space do you have that you would look for at first that is not taking up the room that you need for the stuff that you actually do use and love? Okay, so the stuff you're really truly using, that gets priority space. So if you have your bookshelf crammed full of cookbooks, but then all the food that you eat and the skillet that you use are all spread out on the counter because there's no room to put them away because it's being taken up by cookbooks. You're like, no, the things that we actually use in our everyday life, that deserves space first. So I need a place to put that. I'm going to take out my least favorite cookbooks until I have the room, for these items that I actually use. And so you let the container make that decision. And you're like, it's not that I don't love them. That's the beauty of the container concept. Like, before, the keep your favorites. It's all my favorites. If you watch the video with my husband and I with the mugs and the mug shelf, he specifically says, he's like, I can do this because I'm not having to say that I don't love this mug. I'm able to say it's a favorite, but it's less favorite than this one. So this one deserves space, and the space is finite. The space is limited. Yay. Yeah, so we've always, Facebook is not needed for Take Your House Back. Everything goes into the course itself. But this year we have come up with a way for those who are not on Facebook to be able to watch live. They used to be an hour delayed because we would have to, do the live and then put it into the course. And so it would be like 1 hour later for them. But this year they're able to do it live. Okay. Oh, we've got that. We're going to talk about that one. Let's see. Yes, that all-day declutter on Saturday. That is part of the Take Your House Back course. I don't want anybody to think that it's here on my channel, but that will be, yes. It starts at 8 a.m. on Saturday, this Saturday. Let's see. Yay! I'm so excited that you're already making huge strides in your home. That's amazing. Let's see. Now, here's a good question. How can I persuade adult children and spouse to declutter too? Okay, so assuming that they live in your house. And I had a question. Oh, this was on the ones that I went over briefly that I decided I'm going to do on another week. But basically, I was talking about the spaces that, they had. Anyway, forget about it. Sorry, y'all. It's one of those days. I got a lot going on. The best way to encourage, because the reality is, if you have adult children, you've been through the years of understanding, oh yeah, they all along were their own people, right? And so where maybe when they were little, I thought I was, in control. It was all along, like it's a navigating things, right? Like we're encouraging and all that. But the best way to get other people in your house to declutter is to first focus on your own stuff and neutral stuff, and to do it in a visible space so that they see the progress. They see the impact on the home. They see you being willing to get rid of your stuff, surviving, making it through, right? And like getting rid of things and not missing it. But also they see, wow, the house is easier to live in now. Like we can function in it better. It actually impacts how, we interact and what we can do here. So that is the number one way, is to just, if you try to make it a team effort from the beginning, it doesn't work. And that was my problem for so many years, is I would be like, okay, I need to declutter. Let me get everybody on board to make this big change. That never lasted because I was spending all my energy on getting everybody on board and trying to do the organization on stuff that I didn't even really know myself yet. Like I didn't understand it. I didn't know how to do this well. I didn't know how to do the 5-step method because I hadn't created it yet, right? But when I gave up on that, which I'm not saying gave up on it, but when I just focused on what I was doing and what I wasn't doing, I got the hang of it. I understood. I earned credibility with them. I impacted our house. And then eventually they were like, oh, okay, yeah. And they had a different, they were able to and willing to declutter as well as we kept going. Let's see. I'm struggling to get my 2-year-old's toys under control because I feel like she has so many things that end up on the floor between plays. So a couple things here are container concept and 5-minute pickup. Okay, so 5-minute pickup is the key, right? So and you can do it at any time of the day. You can do more than one a day or whatever, but it's like, okay, let's do a focused 5-minute time. Is that fun with a 2-year-old? No, it's not. During that time with the 2-year-old, it will mostly be you pick this up. Okay. And this goes in this. Okay. So but that 5-minute pickup determines, are they under their clutter threshold or not? Can you, not in the first 5-minute pickup, because it's going to take a while to kind of get the hang of it and understand it, but are they able to, in 5 minutes after we practice this, to get things put away? Okay, like, can we get this space back under control in 5 minutes? If not, after we've practiced it for a while, if there is just no way, then that means we have too much stuff and we need to have less stuff. We need to declutter to the point where a 5-minute pickup can get this space back under control for the age that they're actually at and for your bandwidth for working with them on that. All of those things are factors there, right? But also make the first way to declutter, because, probably, I mean, all kids, we all need to declutter all of our spaces at different times, right? So go ahead and declutter, but be thinking of it along the lines of, this is the space that we have. So the room itself, where the toys are, that is a container. The first thing that deserves space in there is the child to be able to actually do the playing. Okay. So there needs to be open space for the kid to play. And then whatever the space is, with that taken out, the space for them to play, okay, there's, a toy receptacle. Have I said receptacle more than one time today? I don't know why. It's a word for today, maybe. Anyway, there's that. There's, these spaces that we have for Hot Wheels, or for, I don't know, 2-year-olds probably can't do Hot Wheels, right? Because that's choking hazards. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But that, these are the spaces that we have for that. So this box, that's going to determine how many of this type toy that we can have. This is our stuffed animal area. So, we've got a bucket for stuffed animals, and then use the container concept with your child. Let's, put your favorite ones into the bucket first, which is fun. And then anything that doesn't fit in there, we're going to need to get rid of. So using that container concept, it works amazingly with children. And I know I'm just kind of all over the place today, but let's see. We have lots of extra space. I just can't handle the amount of stuff my 4 kids leave out. They and my husband rebel against 5-minute pickups. Only 5 minutes. What do I do? Get rid of what they won't pick up. So a 5-minute pickup, like I said before, is the factor, right? It's the determiner of, are we under our clutter threshold? So if things are getting left out and the 5-minute pickup, isn't working, then that's over the clutter threshold, right? So yeah, that could be something that you are like, hey, let's do a 5-minute pickup. Oh, you're not going to do a 5-minute pickup? Okay, well, then everything just has to go, because, the 5-minute pickup is how we know that we are under our clutter threshold. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see. Ideas on what to do with plants and other items from funeral. My stepdad just passed away and it's overwhelming. I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry for your loss. Yeah, I think that for us, what we have done, I'm trying to think. I know we have certain plants from the funerals of my in-laws, and I think we basically tried to keep our one favorite, partly because that's our clutter threshold. There are some people who are like, whoa, all these plants, this is going to be amazing. And then there are others who it's very overwhelming. For our clutter threshold, are the reality for us, we kept like one from each one. And so we tried to give them away to other family members. Like here, each of the grandkids got one, or each of the cousins or something got one. And so it might be a matter of, if they're all at your house right now, you might pick your favorite one, you know, because they're at your house, you deserve it. So pick your favorite one, take it out, take a picture and say, and send it to the people who you think might need one. And just say, I am not able to keep, I don't have room for all of these. So if you want one, come get one. Otherwise, I'm going to put them on Facebook and ask all my friends if they would like one, you know, to come and get it. Let's see. How do I remove clutter blinders? Is that a process? Yeah. So this is a great question. I always called it slob vision. As I was working on things, I'd be like, whoa, wait, all of a sudden I'm seeing this incredible mess. So that's where having the prioritization strategy of the visibility rule was really helpful for me. So I would say visibility, meaning where people, the first thing they're going to see when they come into my house. So I would walk to that space and I would look at it and I would go, okay, is there any trash? And so following the process means I don't have to just know or not know what's clutter. Instead, I say, what is trash? Okay. And I throw away the trash. And then I say, is there anything in this space that's easy? So it's a process that takes me through it. And I don't have to just worry about what am I seeing and not seeing. And instead, and the other thing too, is that I know where to go. I'm going to start in this visible space. Maybe in your house, that space is fine. Great. You go to that space, you go through the process anyway, no matter what you say. Is there any trash here? Get rid of that. Is there any easy stuff? Is there any donations? Okay. Let me look through this space. Anything that doesn't belong here, where would I look for it first? And you go through the whole process in that visible area. And maybe that space was great and it takes you 3 minutes or 20 minutes. And then you move to the next one. So you know you have tangible strategies for what to do next. I know where to start and I know what process to go through. That is what I would really focus on there. Dana, can I use a different step to start out with so that I can move forward in decluttering my house? First step is to clean the kitchen and keep it clean every morning. Difficult getting past. Okay, so I think you're talking about if you're building the habits, okay, building your habits in how to manage, right? Okay, like the you know, do the dishes every day. If you can't do anything else, do the dishes. Yeah, declutter. I mean, like, go declutter at your entryway and be ruthless in it, because the other thing to know is that if the daily things are so overwhelming to you, having less stuff is going to make those daily things less overwhelming. Okay. So really work on decluttering. I would recommend, if the kitchen if just keeping the kitchen clean is overwhelming to you, declutter in there. I mean, like, be ruthless. Get rid of as much as you can out of there. And that's going to make that step a whole lot easier. But yeah, it's so tough because, like, there's daily stuff, which is the most important. Like, if the dishes aren't done, the house is never going to feel or look, and you'll never be able to convince anybody that the house is under control, right? But also decluttering, and they are equally important. But anyway, so you're never going to go wrong as long as you're doing the decluttering with the no mess method. It's only going to make progress on your house, and it's going to make all those other things easier. Let's see. Love it. See, as someone with a chronic health condition and limited energy, take it there now, changed my life and my home. It's tough because I know so many times it's what you're assuming is going to happen. And yet this is what I hear over and over is once people actually try it, they realize, oh, take it there now works best for me because I have limited energy, because it is guaranteed actual sustainable progress as opposed to half doing something. It's the half doing things where, you know, like, oh yes, this needs to go to the kitchen. I'm gonna set it over here for now and I'll take it to the kitchen later. That is where the actual Like when it hits you and you cannot do anymore, that's where the real frustration comes in, because you haven't actually made progress. You've just moved it from here into a pile over here. So let's see. Hi, Dana. I'm about to start decluttering kitchen cabinets. How do you do no mess decluttering of spaces when you need to also wipe down, clean the containing space? Yeah. So declutter, and then declutter to the point where everything is easily accessible, identifiable, get toable. So that means that you can easily take the plates and wipe under there. Okay. You can easily take this item and wipe under there. If you are, and this is where the whole like decluttering and cleaning are separate things. So work on really decluttering. And then at that point, if you do one cabinet and you take out those things, you're not taking out a huge amount. You're just taking out the things that need to stay in there. And so it's going to be a smaller amount. You can take out one cabinet's worth and then wipe that out, but it's a separate thing from the decluttering. Does that make sense? So the first thing I would do is really declutter without worrying about the cleaning, except for what you can kind of do here and there. And then once that's done, the cleaning of like, I'm going to take things out and do that becomes so much less overwhelming. But I think sometimes when there's so much and you know it needs to be cleaned, it feels like it all needs to be one big job, but you're going to be able to do all of this better if you will really ruthlessly declutter in there. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I love it. She says, my best friend and I started reading your book at the same time, never having talked about it. You're a life changer. Thank you. Thank you. I love that. And I love when people can help each other out. Don't forget too, y'all, if you need somebody to be your guide, your helper in this process, I have decluttering coaches. Okay. Decluttering coaches who are trained and certified by me in this method. And most of them also work virtually. So if there's not one who's actually in your area that can come into your home, most of them also work virtually. So they'd be able to do that over Zoom with you. Okay. Let's see. The no mess method is the only thing that works for me. I've been sick and I have fibromyalgia. We had a question earlier about that. I just took things slow and I got so much done. I'm better and have a tidier house. Love, love, love. Yes, I love it. Something Dana said about donating that helped me was something like, when you donate something, there is someone out there who will appreciate it and be so grateful. Yes. Yeah. And here's the thing too on that. I have come to accept, also just decide to look at it this way, that me personally connecting with the very person who needs this item is harder than the item connecting with the person who needs it, who's in a thrift store looking for a used item. It's almost like to donate something to a thrift store gives it a better chance of reaching the person who really needs it than for me to be like, oh, you know who might need this? And I call them and I say, hey, do you want this? And they go, oh, I never thought about that, but maybe I'll take it. Kind of like we were talking about before. I used to be the person who would take everybody's stuff. And so I'm sure people were like, oh, Dana's creative. She would love to have such and such. And so they would call me and be like, hey, do you want my needlepoint stuff? And I'd be like, I have never thought about doing needlepoint, but yeah, I want it. And then it would end up in my house and it would just be clutter in my house, where if they donated it somewhere and somebody is looking for needlepoint stuff and they see it, it's like it connects it with that ideal person in a way. That's what I've come to decide is more effective than me trying to personally find something. Because when I was personally trying to find the perfect person, it was staying in my house, which meant it was remaining clutter. I'm currently feeling the need to declutter the whole of my home and it's feeling overwhelming. You need decluttering at the speed of life. Yeah, you need that. That is, it will take you through the whole process. So it's available wherever books are sold, in Kindle, paperback, audio, most libraries carry it as well in all of those formats. So that will take you through that. The thing you don't want to do is just start pulling everything out. We don't do that. Okay. But it will take you through the whole visibility process and, which is your prioritization method and how to use the no mess method to actually do that. Okay. I'm having trouble finding the purpose for a room in my house, and it is a room that collects clutter and is a drop zone. Any tips on how to prevent this and find a clear use of the room? Yeah, I think this is a great question. And I totally get what you're saying. The thing that I had to do was say, I'm going to decide what I'm going to call it. Even though it could morph in the future, this purpose, I am going to call this room this. I am deciding that I am naming this room. So like for me, I had a room, and I've told this story many times, but I had a room that I used to call my game room / guest room / office. And as long as I had those slashes in there, as long as I was calling it all of that, and I was like, yeah, but I mean, I can't just call it a game room because this is where guests sleep. But then it's also where I do my work. That's where the computer is. And so, I mean, it's all of those things. And it was like, okay, I got to figure out. And instead I said, I'm just going to choose to call it a game room. Even though it functioned as all those other things, I made a choice. I said, I'm going to call it a game room. And that changed everything. So it's like, pick a purpose for this room. Declutter for that purpose. It could change at some point, but when it changes, it'll be easier to change because you've decluttered, and it was easier to declutter because you've picked a purpose. So instead of thinking of it as finding a purpose, instead say, I'm going to choose a purpose. I'm just going to name one, even if it's kind of an arbitrary thing that you're doing. New question, but what do you do when you take the item to its storage area and it's full? Do you then have to choose an item that should leave to make space for the item? Yes, that's exactly what you do. You've already got it. Yeah. And there's the video that's coming out on Thursday is a 1 hour better, and it has two or three different perfect examples of exactly this. So you'll get to see how that works. But yeah, that's exactly what you do. Take something out to create space. It doesn't have to be item for item. Like if you're putting a wedding dress in there, you don't have to take out a wedding dress. But if you're putting a wedding dress in here and it deserves space, then something else has to leave in order to create the space for that. Maybe it's 3 sweaters, or maybe it's a winter coat that's outgrown or something. I love this. So this is talking about the all-day declutter. That's what the ADD stands for in this context. From Take Your House Back course. So Gina's been watching the replays. All-day declutter replays have been making it easier for me to make progress over the last 2 months. Yes. So if you join the Take Your House Back course, that's aslobcomesclean.com/take. That's my link for that, to go and check that out, see if it's something you need. But you get to join in the all-day declutter live on Saturday, but you also have the recordings of those that will be in the course itself for you to watch whenever you want to watch them, and watch them again and again. A lot of people do that. I put question marks to get your attention. I want to make sure you know you are so wonderful. Okay, I wouldn't have read this, but I guess you put your question marks. I absolutely love your facial expressions. Thank you. I appreciate that. Dana, I read your book, Decluttering at the Speed of Life. It was very informative and so funny. Thank you for it. Thank you. I appreciate that. How do you decide which item needs to leave your storage space, like after you take an item to its desired destination? It seems a big cognitively taxing to choose which items need time to leave. Okay, so if you take it to the space where you would look for it first, and that space doesn't have room for it, then you're acknowledging that space needs to be decluttered, right? Like if there's not room for all the stuff that I would actually look for here, that space needs to be decluttered. So just like you would in the normal decluttering process in any space, the first thing you're going to look for is trash. And trash involves no cognitive taxation. Okay, like it involves no decision making energy, no emotional energy. So the best things to remove are trash and donations, because the trash bag and the donatable donate box are back at the space that you are working on. And so that will naturally lead you back to that space. Both of those things require no thinking or emotional energy. So ask yourself, is there anything in this space that's trash? There's usually trash. In a cluttered space, there is usually something that is trash. Is there anything that is a donation? Because this is a cluttered space, so there's probably something in there that's a donation. That's what you're going to look for. And remember that if it's something that you're like, oh, I don't know, I have to think about it, then it's not trash or a donation. You are literally looking for obvious trash and obvious donations that don't involve decision making. Okay. How do you say, I don't have room for this, when you have empty shelves and technically can put it somewhere else in the house? Okay, so we declutter according to the space first with the container concept. So the container concept is the first thing to embrace as you are working on your space. I'm going to accept the reality of the space. I'm going to declutter down to the space. If you are still overwhelmed, it is not an issue of I don't have space for it at this point, because you do have space, but I'm still overwhelmed, which means I am over my clutter threshold. I still can't keep my house under control. So even though technically there's a place for things to be, I have enough stuff that it gets out of control for me and my unique brain, my unique personality, and how I roll. So if my house is consistently getting out of control and I can't get it under control in a 5-minute pickup, then I need to have less stuff. That is my clutter threshold. Your clutter threshold is the amount of stuff that you personally can easily keep under control. Okay. And we know that we're under it by whether or not a 5-minute pickup gets our house back under control on a regular basis. Right. And so that at this point, you are not decluttering according to space because you've already done that. So that's the first thing you do is declutter according to space. But if you've done that, you're still overwhelmed, then you acknowledge I have a clutter threshold. It is still overwhelming to me. I still can't do this. That means I need to have less stuff and less stuff and less stuff. My definition of clutter is anything that consistently gets out of control. Any space that consistently gets out of control has too much stuff in it. It has clutter. I need to get rid of stuff until it naturally, with my personality, stays under control easily. I am going to have to leave in just a few minutes. Yeah, I think this is the same question. This is the same answer, right? So the question is, my daughter keeps all of her small toys, Barbie shoes, LOL dolls, mini brands, Shopkins in a basket. Any suggestions on what to do to keep it from being dumped out to find something? Yeah, if it's being dumped out to find something, then that's over her clutter threshold. Maybe we need a smaller container. Maybe we need to just have less stuff, so because remember the container, it needs to be functional. So it can't just be shoved. It needs to be functional. So maybe she needs a smaller, shallower container. Let that be the determiner that she can get out what she needs without dumping it. Okay. All right. Oops. Okay. Do you have any rules? Okay. I wasn't meaning to click it, but I will. Do you have any rules of thumb for how much stuff to keep in a kid's room? I can pick up their room in less than 5 minutes, but they cannot. Okay. It needs to be according to whether they can or not. Right. So that would be the goal, is getting them to the point and explaining it, saying, like, let's practice this 5-minute pickup, because as it is, we have too much stuff. So if we can't get things under control in the 5 minutes, we're going to need to get rid of more stuff until we can do the 5 minutes. So using that as their thing. So it's not you, it's them. And that's just kind of the reality of how the clutter threshold shifts and morphs through the different phases of your life, right? So like a 2-year-old can only handle this amount of stuff versus, kids age who are like 5 and 10. Okay. All right. I am going to have to stop there. Remember, if you're not a member of Take Your House Back, this is a great time to join. It's on sale through tomorrow. And we have an all-day declutter coming up on Saturday that you can participate in if you're in the course. So go to aslobcomesclean.com/take. That's my link to get you there. And, I think you'll love it. People love it. Just go read through the comments and see all the people saying how much they love the course and how much they love the all-day declutters, and they're looking forward to Saturday. All right. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.